When you hear the word travel, does it bring you excitement, but at the same time make you very anxious? And when you have to travel or go somewhere, do you Google hospitals near or hospitals in the city that you're going to be in? Before you travel, do you go online and do research to read about other people's stories who have anxiety, particularly agoraphobia? If you answered yes to any of these questions, this video is for you. Hey everyone, it's Mark, and today I want to share a deep personal story with all of you. Most people know me as a product creator. What a lot of people don't know is that there's a whole other side of my life that only my family and close friends know about. I grew up with anxiety my whole life. It started when I was young, and it stuck with me from the 1980s all the way until now. Back in the 80s and 90s, mental health wasn't a thing. Like, anxiety wasn't recognized, it wasn't talked about. So when I was growing up, it was hard for me to explain to my dad and my other family members what was going on. All I can tell them was that I was nervous, I was anxious, but nobody knew what was going on. So I went to countless doctor visits. I ended up in the ER. I can't even tell you numerous times. I just had this bad anxiety growing up. And as I got older, I started to experience multiple forms of anxiety. It wasn't until 2008, when I took a business trip to the island of Guam, that I experienced this new form of anxiety that I never experienced in my whole life, called agoraphobia. It was the furthest that I have ever traveled away from my home here in the San Francisco Bay Area. When I was growing up, my parents divorced, my mom moved back to her home state, and then my dad raised our family out here in the Bay Area. But I do have a big chunk of my family who's also in Hawaii. So growing up, my dad would take my family back to Hawaii, and then I would spend summers in Hawaii. So going to Oahu was like the only place that I considered far that I went to. I didn't go anywhere else. I never been to the East Coast. I never been out of the country. I would just go to Hawaii, then I'd come back, go to school, and then during the summer months, I'd go back to Hawaii. And anyways, going back to 2008, so I took a trip to Guam, and that again was the furthest trip I've ever taken. And even though it's considered the U.S., it's way out in the Pacific, over by the Philippines. When I got to Guam, after like a 14-hour flight, with an overnight stopover in Hawaii, I finally get to Guam, and I remember getting to the hotel. Now, when I walked into the hotel, there was this big globe in the lobby. So I walked up to the globe. It had like a marker on it that said, you're here, this tiny little island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And so I moved the globe around. I moved it and moved it and moved it. Finally, I see Hawaii, and then I get to California. And when I saw how far I was away from home, I had the worst panic attack of my life. My business partner and one of my close friends who was with me at the time, I said, let's just get to the room. So we went to the room. It was all bad. It was terrible. So I was in the room. I pretty much felt like I had the flu, in a sense. Like, I couldn't think straight. Everything just felt like hazy and dreamy, like I was in the dream state. And all I wanted to do was just go back on the plane and at least fly back to Hawaii. If I can get to Hawaii, I would have been comfortable, because it's a place that I'm very familiar with and I'm very comfortable with. And then from Hawaii, I can make my way back to the Bay Area. But I knew I had several days left before I can do that. So, I was in the hotel room, severe panic, jet lagged as well, possibly dehydrated for not drinking much on the plane ride over. I finally was able to sleep for a couple hours. I woke up the next morning. I had to go tour the island as part of my business trip out there. With my anxiety, everything was just a blur. Usually I'm very good when I travel. I have great memory and I could point things out, but during this trip, I don't remember much of the island. A couple glimpses that pop up of my memory, that have stuck with me, but for the most part, like the small details of the trip, I don't remember. Day 1 was a blur, day 2 was a blur, day 3 was a blur. And then on, I think it was the fourth day or so, which was my final day there, which was the day of the event, I went to the event at the University of Guam. I get to the venue, I'm there, the event starts getting set up, I see my booth, my friend, he starts working on the booth, and then out of nowhere, like instant panic again just took over me. And I started getting shaky, and I was like, hey, look, I just got to get back to the hotel. And finally, I talked to one of the event coordinators. I was like, hey, can I get a ride back? I'm not feeling well. Thankfully, drove me back to the hotel. I left my friend at the event. He said, you know, go ahead and go back. I'll run the booth. So that worked out fine. I got back to the hotel. I was throwing up. Felt like I had the stomach flu, but I already knew it was just bad anxiety. So, or not even anxiety at this point. It's just just a panic attack. So I was sick to my stomach. I tried laying down. I couldn't sleep. I tried to sleep it off. I couldn't sleep. I turned the TV on to see if the TV would calm my mind down. And when I turned the TV on, first thing that pops up on the TV was someone on the island who died. Of course, that gave me more anxiety. So I picked up the phone. I called my friend who's a doctor back here in San Francisco. I explained to her, you know, what was going on, and she was like, you're fine. She said, you know, try to rest, and then you know, I told her my flight's in the morning, I'll be flying back. So she was like, you know, rest and, you know, get back home. A couple hours later, the event's over. My friend comes back to the hotel and he's like, damn, like, are you okay? Like, you look like shit. You know, I was just completely mentally beat up, physically beat up. I didn't really eat much in the whole trip just because I didn't have no appetite. So the next morning, you know, I stayed up pretty much the whole night. Once I saw the sun come up, I was like, we're heading to the airport. We make it back to Honolulu, and it was weird. Like once we got back to Honolulu, like my anxiety almost immediately went like gone instantly. But there's still just a tiny bit of it. Hung out there for a couple hours, and then when I got on our flight back to the Bay Area, I was good. As we started making our arrival into San Francisco, like I felt like 100% perfect. Like nothing ever happened. A year later, my wife and I got married. And I didn't tell her what was going on with me. I just kept it quiet. I mean, she knew that I had anxiety. I didn't tell her about this new form of anxiety that I was experiencing. Like after that trip to Guam, I was afraid to go across the bay. Like places that I've gone to my whole life, like I was nervous just thinking about going anywhere that had some kind of distance. I just wanted to stay home. Because I didn't tell my wife that, I was getting in the car with her, and I was just going everywhere, just fighting the anxiety. Every time I had to drive somewhere, it was rough. So my wife was like, hey, you know, I want to go travel here. I want to go and do this and do that. I had to put a smile on my face and like say, heck yeah, that sounds like fun. But deep down, it was terror, like pure terror. I couldn't hide it that much longer because we eventually got married the following year. And of course, you know, honeymoon comes up. Where are we going for a honeymoon? With Jamaica. And that was the first time I'd been out of the country. After our wedding, you know, we go to Jamaica, stop over in Miami, which was fine. I wasn't. It was kind of weird, but in Miami, I felt pretty comfortable during my stopover. And then when we left Miami to get to Jamaica, it was like an hour and a half flight. When we landed in Jamaica, I was like, okay, I started to feel like panicky. So we finally get to the resort. It was nighttime. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little sketchy at night just because like I wasn't used to that kind of environment. But my wife was like, hey, you know what, like, it seems kind of rough out here. She's like, maybe we should just go back to Miami. And I'm like, well, surprisingly, I said, well, why don't we just rest? And then let's see what happens tomorrow. We got some rest, woke up the next morning. We stayed on the beach. The next morning when I woke up, I saw the beach. I was like, no, I think we'll stay. It was beautiful. So the people in Jamaica, the greatest people. I loved them. The food was great. You know, I love Jamaican cuisine. Of course, reggae music is my first choice of music, has always been. So having like the combination of great people, great food, and great music, and then of course like just beautiful land, beautiful beaches, it made the trip. Like the whole week we're there, I didn't have any panic attacks or any anxiety, which was weird. But we came back home, and then the following year, my wife was like, okay, it's our 1-year anniversary. Like, she wants to go to Cozumel, down to Mexico. And I was like, okay, let's do that. So again, didn't tell my wife anything about my struggles, but you know, I'm flying down there, pure panic on the plane. We get there, kind of the same thing. Anxiety gets worse. Time goes on, my wife books more trips, and every time before my wife starts booking a trip, what I started doing was I would start Googling. For example, in Mexico, I would Google, hospitals in Mexico. But like when we went to New York, when I went to Italy, and other states around the U.S., I would always Google and look up hospitals in, Manhattan, hospitals in Austin, Texas, hospitals in Miami, Florida, hospitals in Seattle. Like I was always looking for a hospital just in case I needed that help. And what that was doing was, before I even went on the trip, I was already psyching myself out. I was injecting my mind with negative thoughts. And since then, I've been all over the U.S. I've taken her to other islands in Hawaii. But the same thing always happens. In Hawaii, for some reason, Hawaii, I'm fine. Even on the other islands, like when I went to Kauai, Maui, I'm fine out there. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Hawaii works for me. But when I go to other places, I always feel anxious. And the agoraphobia, the thought of me even leaving or traveling, just terrifies me. So, going to LA, San Diego, that hasn't been an issue. And I think it's because I've gone there so many times and I know the place. It's like Hawaii for me. It's like Oahu. Like I've been there so much that I know where the hospitals are. I know where I can get help. So I don't freak out, and I don't have to worry about Googling, hospitals or anything like that. But other places, it doesn't matter where I go to. I just have agoraphobia. I'm taking a trip in a few months to the Cayman Islands, and I'm already Googling like hospitals in Cayman Islands. Just the thought of me even going has been like when my wife talks about it, I'm like smiling and, sharing the joy with her. But deep down, I'm like, shit, here we go. I got to go on this trip. And the bad part with this trip is like, we're taking a red-eye flight. If I don't sleep well, if I don't get enough rest, like that contributes to my anxiety. So lack of rest, being in a new place, yeah, I'm a bit worried. That's my thing. Now, before I travel anywhere, I'm Googling, nearest, hospitals and location. I look up stories of people who have agoraphobia and travel. I also look up the distance. Like I go on Google Maps and I put my location in the Bay Area, and then I put where I'm going. I look up how many miles it is, and just to see it on the map, and I'm like, shit, I am going to be far from home. I have, over the years, I have some life coaches who help me, not with just the things I do professionally, but they have also helped me with my mindset. I got deep into the subconscious mind and how that has helped me not just grow in life, but grow mentally. I'm a huge advocate for mental health, and a lot of these things that I do with like developing my products and just like studying the human mind, how our mind works, the subconscious mind, it actually has benefited me and it has helped me out. And that's why, I'm making this video. It's not only just to share my story, but I want to be able to inspire and help other people out there who are also experiencing agoraphobia and anxiety. Because, a lot of times we feel like we're alone. I can't even tell, not the exact figure, but I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on medical bills, ending up in the ER, going to doctor's appointments, getting scans of my heart, getting scans of my brain, just to figure out and trying to identify what's going on with me. So over the years, I've spent, I can't even tell you, countless amounts of dollars just going through doctor's visits. I want to prevent other people from having to do that. And if I can take my, what I've learned and help other people, that's what I want to do. And even though I'm a product creator, the greatest joy I have that I've recognized is helping people who have anxiety. I have friends who are also product creators. They have their own friends that I have helped out as well over the years. I've talked to them, shared my tips and shared my story, and it's helped them. We have to support each other. And I figured like going forward with my trip coming up to the Cayman Islands, like I want to start documenting my journey so I can share my story, and hopefully it'll inspire other people out there. So, right now I am starting to talk more about my journey on my website. So I do have my own website. It's marktaniguchi.com, and I do have some posts up there. that talks about, you know, the human mind, and I'm going to be posting more about my journey. I'm also going to be posting more on YouTube about, you know, anxiety, agoraphobia, and then other forms of bad anxiety that I have, that I also experienced in the past couple of years that put me in a dark, dark place. But I overcame everything, and I'm very thankful that over the years I have never taken any anxiety medication. They've been prescribed to me through my doctor, through the psychologist. They tried prescribing me, you know, medications, and I won't take it. If I can get through things naturally, that I'm sure that, you know, I can help others do the same. So you're not alone. My contact information is below. Feel free to reach out to me. If this video has helped you in any way, it would be great if you could drop me a comment, like the video, subscribe, and if you know anybody who's struggling with anxiety and agoraphobia, please share this video. And I guarantee if you reach out to me, I will get back to you for sure. Thank you for watching this video. I'm glad to share my story. I'm glad to get it out there now. And we're in this together. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.